Go ahead. Mind?
Why? We can get a copy of the tape.
I just think that if Dawn had this, it'd be easier to... Okay, we'll call a meeting to order at 5:33. Azu is here. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes of
Yes.
any motions?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bills.
July 3rd.
Did you read?
Yeah. Sorry.
We have a letter from DEP to 450 Center Street, saying that there was a superseding order of conditions issued. The work never took place, and the order of conditions has expired, so therefore the work they're required to file it for a new order, notice of intent if they want to proceed.
You said it was on Center Street, Bill?
450 Center Street. That's Stony Brook.
Okay, yeah,
Church is up here.
yeah. Now you're gonna know the house. Or the area.
What were they gonna do?
I have no idea. But we must have denied it back then. Looks like it was building a house, but...
How long ago was this?
Gotta go back here to see when it was. I don't know, it's expired, so it was a long time
So
ago.
it's gonna be quite a few years ago.
1989. Somebody was going through old files.
Still looking at that.
Board of Appeals. Granted a variance on June 14th, July 24th. Richmond Street rear with conditions. Board of Appeals, Richmond Street rear. This is about, it's from the DEP, 10 Park Plaza, it's to the Mass DOT. It's about water quality certification application for BRP WW10, major fill and excavation projects, bridge replacement, Route 24 bridge. Anybody know anything about that one?
Emergency repair?
It's a bridge project, it's a Jeff, wetlands protection act. Where is it again, Bill?
Route 24, the Taunton River, oh, so it's right,
The emergency repair?
what they were doing the other day, maybe?
Cotton River Bridge, Route 24 over the Cotton River.
Yeah.
They were working on that for months, didn't they? Most of this year. Yeah.
Yeah, they worked on it for a long time the other day. Gail wasn't here for me to skip through any of the stuff.
I know we have a longer term project, with the 24 bridge,
Okay.
24, and we're doing the Oxford Street intersection.
Okay.
I hope you can build one and just drop it in place in one day,
Did you read that one?
because it'll be a nightmare.
No, file.
Oh,
Okay, so it's not
it
working.
was Saturday?
No.
It was
Dawn's
backed
trying
up all the way to Bay Street.
I can't seem to get it to work.
That's how bad it was. 44 was Saturday afternoon, when they were doing the emergency repair on 24.
Oh, it's not.
24 was backed up to Bay Street on 495. That's how bad it was.
Thank God I went north first.
Sorry?
Is that all set, the bills?
Yeah, the bills.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move into informal. How are we doing, Dawn? Okay,
We've got a copy of that if we have to.
okay. We need to ratify an enforcement order that was issued to RK Associates, 600 South Street West.
Do we have them here? They've been signed by Bill.
So basically, when a member or the chair or the agent issues an enforcement order, cease and desist order, at the next regularly meeting of the commission, the majority of the commission and of the quorum needs to ratify basically upholding the enforcement
The
order.
issues of the, okay. So we do that in the form of a motion?
Correct.
Okay, on this is on the RK property itself. And basically
Which is 600 South Street West.
correct.
Right, right.
The issue on South Street West property is there are 7 stone culverts that were installed at some point, right down to what we're considering a perennial stream at this point because it's a blue line on the GIS maps, for drainage out of the parking lot. And after being issued the cease and desist, sometime later in that week, they installed new berm, loam and seed along the back of the property,
After the cease and desist was given.
after the cease and desist was given.
So you're looking, Mr. Chairman, for a motion to
Ratify.
ratify the enforcement order against RK Associates at 600 South Street West, then I so move.
Second.
Okay, do we need to discuss anything as far as the orders or?
Just if it were, because you got to ratify them individual separately. 'Cause they're two
Correct,
different-
but I'm talking about this one.
No, if they have any questions from the members of the commission.
So ratify first and then discussion later.
Right.
So ratify
Okay.
first.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to ratify this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
So we have the other one on MassDOT.
Do we want to do any what we've ordered is,
Both properties?
Yeah, ratify this one here, and because they're kind of tied together.
okay,
And then, yeah.
all right. Then we have an enforcement order for Mass DOT. Route 24 and 44. It's 44 east to 24 south on the southwest corner of the ramp, tree cutting. And the entire distance across the back of 600 South Street West, tree cutting and vegetation removal, and then herbicide spraying.
I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Second.
All in favor?
Is that a point of information, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
MassDOT didn't do any of that.
Right.
No, well,
We'll discuss
I'll tell you
it
right
once
now.
we ratify it, okay? It is on,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we're here on behalf of RK.
okay. Because this is state property, we are bound by law to go to the property owner,
Correct.
okay? Anything that we do, we deal with the property owner. If the property owner, let me ratify it, and then we'll discuss it. Can we do that?
Sure.
All right, let's get through that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So that enforcement order is ratified. Now, to explain, the way the law reads is we deal with the property owner. If a violation occurs on someone's property and it is done by somebody else,
Unless you witness the actual activity, then the property owner is the responsible party, just like they do with the, like when you spill something or found an oil on their property, then you go after them. You may aid, the DEP may aid in going after the actual violator once the person has been identified, but the owner is the responsible party.
ultimately.
Yeah.
So that being said, any questions? You step up to the mic, state your name for the record.
My name is David Katz. Our company changed names not too long ago from RK Associates to RK Centers. We sent a letter last week, shortly after we found out about this, to both Mass DOT as well as to the Conservation Commission, and we're assuming full responsibility for actually both enforcement orders. We own a handful of shopping centers in this part of the world. We've worked very cooperatively with Mass DOT District 5. We've owned this particular shopping center since December of 2011, and with the exception of this incident, we feel pretty good about the direction the center's taken. This is the first time it's been 100% leased in some time, and we try to take a hands-on approach with all of our properties to make sure they look at it, that they have a first-class appearance at all times, and they're ones that both we and the community can be proud of. In this particular instance, and I brought our contractor here in case there's any questions, Cam Enterprises, and Mr. Scott Benoyer, who is the owner of that group. Cam Enterprises is the group that did the work.
Now, CAM or PAM?
CAM. And the owner of that group is here as well. And by and large, they do great work for us, but their guys went way beyond the call of duty and certainly way beyond our instructions. One thing we try to emphasize is cleanliness, not only in the front of our centers, but behind as well. And one thing that we find when you go behind properties, that you can find a lot of the misgivings behind the properties, and you can learn a lot of clues as to exactly how a group is operating a center as much as you do in the front. And these guys have been trained to think that way. There is no reason whatsoever as to why they should have been on Mass DOT land, and certainly why there should have been any tree cutting. And we came here to address the enforcement order. We certainly tried to assume responsibility in writing as soon as we found out about it. And all I can do is apologize and say that we want to do whatever we can to make it right.
Anyone else wish to say anything?
Mr. Chairman, I can address the curbing in the back.
Oh, please.
Scott Benoyer, Cam Enterprises. Mr. Chairman, in the back of the plaza, there was asphalt curbing that had been there for over 90 days. A local contractor installed that as part of remediation for snow damage that went through. That curbing has been there since, I think, April or May, somewhere in that area. We did receive a permit for the widening of the road at the rear, almost by Harry's Auto, to open up that roadway about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We opened that roadway up 3 or 4 weeks ago and did all the asphalt work. They came back on, I think it was that Friday or that Monday, and put the berm in and backfilled just that little section. It's only 2 inches around that. When I spoke with you and I saw you in the field and you said a cease and desist, I completely understood that. And I have to take the full responsibility of everything that happened out there, because I gave the wrong direction to the wrong person, and they thought they were doing a good thing, and it didn't, and I'm completely embarrassed and belittled by this, and I appeal to all yous, and I apologize for that.
But you understand that was done after the cease and desist? After Joe, myself, and then you showed up?
Correct. I believe it to be done afterwards. I don't know, because that was part of the road opening that we received a permit for earlier, and I know that you said, and I think Mass DOT also said, leave the brush even on the outside of the fence. We didn't touch anything in there. As a matter of fact, one guy came and started taking wood because he says, oh, do you need? I said, no. I found the guy, and I told him, you can't come back. I said, you're gonna get us in more trouble than what I've already got myself into. Please don't take any. So that's basically, so I would hope that we could address the backside of it. My instructions from my boss was to clean along the chain link fence. That was my instructions. That's what I produced to my men. My supervisor thought he was doing a good thing, and he really did an extremely bad thing. And for that, we'd like to address that tonight, hopefully, and resolve it tonight, hopefully.
Okay.
Can you spell his last name?
Can you just spell your last name?
Just to, if you could, I'll spell my last name, Pennoyer.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just to elaborate, we have worked closely with Raynham Concom and Mass DOT. We worked on together doing the, opening up those drainage ditches and so on and so forth. It worked out great with Bristol County Mosquito Control.
We didn't have anything to do with the drainage ditches.
No, I think it was a filing that came before Concom.
We had a filing on that property with the state
Yes, sir. Yes, with the state.
last year.
Yep.
To clean
Yeah, we
those
filed a
ditches.
notice of intent with you for drainage system maintenance. right?
But my only point behind that is just to show, excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. My only point behind that is to show that we're here to work with everyone. By no means do we do this to throw sand in anyone's eye or anything like that, or to try and get away with anything in particular, because there's no gain to see the back of a dumpster, as it was actually told to me. There is no gain to that. So that's, I'm sure I'm forgetting probably 10 other things I wanted to tell you all, but.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, was the enforcement order on the clearing along the fence?
The enforcement order was on all the issues.
Was
One of
the curbing?
we have pictures.
The pictures are showing.
I saw the photos. I just want to make sure that everybody in the room was clear if the enforcement order was for the entire property of 600
Correct.
South Street West, for any work or just the work?
Any work in the buffer zone.
Okay.
We have a perennial stream running 10 feet, 15 feet off the back of the fence. So that is 200 feet from the stream.
Was the contractor that was doing the curbing, were they aware that there was a standing enforcement order on the property? Because it sounds like they just had really horrible timing when they came back to fix the rest of the curb.
Correct. That's exactly what it was. That's
So I just
exactly.
don't know, were they informed that there was?
No, they had no idea, because I wasn't even aware that they were coming back to do that. And then I received a call from my direct boss, David Baker, saying, Scott, you screwed up again. What the hell are you doing? You sent the guys to put the loom in the back of it. I'm like, well, I didn't do anything. And it was the contractors just to come to fulfill their obligation for that one instance.
And-
Also, you said, sorry, Dave, you said the boss said you screwed up again, so this is not the first time then? You've done it?
No, from the trees out.
On the,
He has a way of saying.
I could have missed that.
on the
And for whatever
road,
it's worth, the two areas are several hundred feet away from each other.
on the curb widening, who was the permit from?
The town of Raynham.
What department?
Highway Department, sir.
The highway
It
department.
wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't a big, that was a maintenance issue, really.
Well, I thought he said they widened the road there, so
Well,
it's.
we
if they-
widened the curb cut there. The curb cuts were damaged from snow plows and just winter.
What I'm trying to get is, was that widening within the 200-foot jurisdiction?
Not the blue.
I wouldn't have called it widening as much as maintenance, because they were driving over it anyways. The trucks were going right over. I was called on that, and it was all broken up. So it was fix this right here as part of a parking lot maintenance.
Okay, but there's a difference between putting it back in its original position and widening, correct?
Oh, yeah.
I think I probably
I don't-
misspoke. I don't want to say it was widened. We fixed what the tractor trailers kept running over constantly. That's basically what we did over there.
My
The permit
problem-
is filed with them as well.
Yeah, my problem with the whole thing was that the berm was not in there when the enforcement order was issued. And then it was the next week.
The berm's so new, it looks fresh, so it almost looks like it did, but at the entranceway, the berm was not there. But the berm running along the back of the property was there for a while. We also, I noticed you said the fence line, those were done on 2 separate occasions. The fence line, we found a lot of tires, TVs and everything else along the back of the fence line. So we actually spent the money to put a gate in, so we could actually walk in there by hand and take the stuff out and pull it out, the tires and so on and so forth, because trash just breeds more dumping.
We see a lot of dumping behind our centers. It's something we're pretty happy about.
Did that explain that to you? I mean, it was,
Yeah, I mean, the way it was
The way-
presented, it was, they
Different,
widened
yeah.
the area, and if they widen the area and it's within our jurisdiction, Roger's not the only one that can sign off on it, we have to.
Right,
That's right.
right. And I was asked about what they were doing. And it wasn't like they were putting a new road in. They had
Yes,
an area,
44 to 24.
Oh, so Roger called you?
no, I had been out there when they were looking at doing the berm.
Oh,
2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Yes, sir.
oh, okay, I didn't know that.
This was not that was a maintenance issue. This is from there down is this stuff.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And
This
even
is
under
the issue
USGS,
on their property. And this is actually, this is the backside, so
Yeah.
this is DOT
That's highway
property,
side, yeah.
but done by them. There's 7 of these stone swales that when I looked at the other thing, I didn't see those stone swales like that. Whether it was snow or whatever, I don't know. But this is where can I write on this?
Sure, yeah, no, you can keep.
This is where our brush cutting took place,
Yep.
which I saw coming up the highway. There's the ramp.
Yep.
There was, at some point, there's a sign right here. At some point in the past, there has been cutting in here. It's not clear cut like this was, but there is cutting in here. These stone swales, in this other entrance, there's an island right here. I don't know, bad drawing, but the trucks kept driving right through here, through the mud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get through there because of the building. It looks a lot easier here than it really is. So it was just, this berm was gone. You know what I mean? So they have a new berm in here, something like, it just took a little bit of that curse and replaced it so they're not driving through the mud again. But there's a stone swale. I think the first one is down towards the sign, correct?
the stone swale? Yes, Jim.
And then there's 7 of them across the back of the building. It's somewhere right in here, or right in here. That stream is like this. How far does it go,
The what?
the stream?
What, 200 feet corridor?
No, I mean, it goes past it goes up past South Street.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it goes
It
to
goes
the top.
right down to the Taunton River.
Okay. And the Taunton River
Staples the
is
banks off.
over here.
Over there, yeah. Makes
'Cause
it
this is
swing over there,
Harry's.
yeah.
You know? So we have 7 of these with 1.5 inch, 2 inch
Rip wrap.
riprap type of a stone in there. no idea how they're built. They're right to the stream goes straight down to here. We have that, and then we have, there is somebody took an inventory of the trees that were cut. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, we went out and measured the area. Joe Ogier, Mass DOT. We're looking at about 650 caliber inches of trees that were cut. Primarily, we're focusing on the exit ramp itself, the clearing behind the fence and so forth. I don't want to say incidental, but I hate to say it, they did a good job, but they shouldn't have done it. As far as the swales that are all there, we're going to be looking to close those. That direct discharge can't happen. All that surface water and oils and whatever from the parking lots, all the trucks that are back there, could be hydraulic fluids. You never know what can come from the back of warehouses. There's some sort of sump pump also that comes out of the building. We're not sure, it's all sludge on the ground. We don't know what that product is or why. We don't have any record of any of this being allowed, permitted. So we're going to be looking to move towards closing them. I guess we can come up with a plan on what's going to be asked in order to close them, if the rocks and the product that was already in place behind the fence, if it'll grow in, it's well enough alone, do we want that all removed? We're going to let someone make a decision on that, on how to go forward, or just berm it, loam it, and seed it on the private property side in order just to continue the landscape and keep it safe so no one trips on the berm or anything like that. But we'll come up with some sort of resolution to that. But our biggest focus right now is the exposure of the back of the buildings, all that cutting that was done on the ramp system itself. We have a lot of grief coming our way with Mass DOT commuters, excuse me, town officials, locals, residents, that when they're looking at back of buildings, that's just when you give someone a billboard for graffiti, they're gonna take it. When it's tree covered, you have no reason to advertise your business, if you will. That's why we don't like these things. Sometimes when we cut down trees, it creates snow drifts across ramps. We end up with icing conditions. There's a lot of reasons why this is a problem to us. So again, we're gonna come up with some sort of, whether it's a one-to-one restoration of replantings or fines or whatever the case may be. My office will determine that and get back to everybody.
Don't know if it's appropriate to say, but I would lean towards restoration. There's a lot of tree cut took place there. I'm looking at your measurements here, and I'm like in awe that, there were 8 10-inch diameter trees taken down. That's significant size and amount.
Yeah, the letter that was written from David Baker, talked about the encroachment onto state property, and the encroachment, let alone the hundreds of feet, that perimeter, the backside of the building. But there was 14,000 square feet of ramp system shoulder that was cut down, and we measured every single cut stump that was, we numbered them, coming up to somewhere, I think it was like 650 caliper inches of trees that were cut.
So the amounts that are here are just from behind the fence towards
Just
the
that
ramp.
quadrant
Just that little
of
section.
ramp system, nothing to do with the fence line itself,
This is just the ramp?
just the ramp.
That's not counting down the fence, that's just.
I'm
the
sorry,
ramp.
the 14,000 square feet was, we did count the trees that were cut along the fence line.
Okay, what about
Along
around
the
the
whole fence
sign?
line?
Yes, sorry.
And the sign out on the side of the
We didn't even
highway?
consider the sign part of it. I couldn't get in there to
Okay.
actually, with the poison ivy and everything else, but the frontage, we would never have known from Route 24, because that barrier was left behind, but
It was
from
the
the
stuff,
sign
yeah.
side, it was all cleared out, and I guess for things to come.
Sir.
Say a few words, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Joe. I'm Tom McGuire, District Environmental Engineer from MassDOT District 5 over in Taunton. And this enforcement order was a surprise to me. It was a surprise to everybody at our district office. We knew nothing of this. But there are, I think, three different items involved here. One is the illegal tree cutting, one is the illegal drainage swales, and another is what apparently is application of herbicides within the state highway layout and in the buffer zone to a wetland resource area. I think we have discussed this with the chair, and I think there's three basic points. Is it would be required from RK to file a notice of intent with the commission, including in that a restoration plan of the entire area. And I have no idea how those waterways were put in there, or when they were put in there, but if you have any information on that, would be interested in it. That, again, as previously stated, is an illegal intrusion on state highway layout. We do not allow abutting property owners to put their water onto the state highway layout, particularly direct discharge of untreated stormwater like that into a wetland area. So we'll be looking for remediation to that. We'll be getting a letter out to RK centers describing this in somewhat more detail and what they have to do. But I think that's the start. Notice of intent to you folks. I think we should be able to work together with you to get a restoration plan that's amenable to both the Concom and MassDOT, and have a commitment from the RK centers to do this, and also to hire a contractor to implement it once it's agreed upon by the Concom and MassDOT.
Can they file a notice of intent for the work on DOT property?
They can be applicant.
Okay.
And Mass Highway would be
The property
Property.
owner,
old
right?
property owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to sign off on the
You're right.
notice of intent, by the way,
Right.
as the
Okay.
property owner. We'll have
Right.
to sign off on that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can we,
Step back up to the mic.
Cable guy gets very upset at us.
is there any way that we can do this by ratifying the enforcement order? I know you have the legal right to do that as a conservation agent, at a conservation commission, that you can require us to do work to restore, it's not to get away from a filing, but you're allowed to do us work to restore what has been taken under the enforcement order.
Mr. Chairman, the idea of the notice of intent is so that the restoration work can actually be regulated, so that you don't go, there will be a guidance, because an order of conditions that you issue in a notice of intent will provide conditions under which that work will be done. I'm afraid that his boss might be angry at him for screwing up again, so we want, so we want to be able to really have a document, a working document. That's what a note of conditions would be. Right now, it's just saying restore the work. You don't know how that work will be done. So you need the
plan.
And it's gonna protect us down the road, because
That's
it's gonna
correct.
be locked into their deeds.
Yeah.
Plan to, okay.
I think, excuse me, I think our request would be, I mean, we certainly came here front and center. It was
Yep.
an awful mistake,
Yeah.
but you didn't have to drag us in here. We actually, found out of the meeting and wanted to show up here. Our request is that, again, the relationships with both these folks over here as well as the town are extremely important to us. And we'd like to see if we can at least work together at this point, deal with the enforcement order, figure out a plan that's going to work for everybody, and then perhaps formalize it at that point. It would be, and we're happy to attend whatever meetings or have whatever discussions that both entities require of us.
Well, that's, the notice of intent documents will provide our basis for the the plan that will work for everybody.
Well-
I really, because there's stormwater issues,
Yeah.
you know.
It's too big, it's not just replacing
Yeah,
one
it's
tree.
it's not 5 or 6 trees, 10 trees, 30 trees, 40 trees.
And the issue, the hassle of it becomes, you're not the property owner. So
Right, I-
you have to, you're gonna have to get with Mass Highway, figure out your plans, submit the notice, and then hopefully we can
Go from there.
look at it in a couple meetings and everybody's happy and we can be done with it.
It needs to be done fairly quickly so that you don't miss the
Growing season, yes, absolutely.
When's our next meeting?
September 4th.
I
Yeah,
guess
that can be done,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there's obviously, there's a lot of facts. We've got to do some verification on our end as well. And I'd like to have our arms around a game plan prior to filing that. I don't think.
So that's what you want to do with Mass Highway?
Agreed.
Must start.
But I'd like to have a game plan prepared informally to everyone's satisfaction, and then whatever the resolution is, formalize it at that point. That would be our preference, but again, I'm coming here with egg on my face, so.
No, it's not a question of, I just that, we've been through that before, with enforcement orders. I mean, you saw how we dragged out on Orchard, 293 Orchard, back and forth and back and forth. I think you guys know what you did, and if you get together with the MassDOT, I think basically at the September 4th meeting, that can all be resolved here, and then you get a working order. But I mean, don't wait till the last minute, you know, I think,
The 19th is the date on the.
that, right, so, Mr. McGuire is very, he's been before this commission numerous times and knows exactly what we look for when we talk about notice of intent. So I think it'll behoove you to get to, go to his office and then sit down and say, okay, how do we do this? And it'll be resolved. I think the commission getting involved with how the notice of intent will be done and agreeing before you actually see, you have an order that says this is what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Stamp it into it and then say, okay, do this here.
I think there's too much.
Yeah, you don't wanna.
I really do.
My only concern is we've got 12 days to put a game plan together, and I just think it's too compressed.
What you could do is right now request the commission to give you, when is the deadline for filing a notice of intent for the September 4th meeting?
Two Mondays before,
It's September 4th.
and that's all. At least by the 26th.
Okay, so what you have to, what you
Then
can,
again, Gazette.
It's
so-
actually Friday or Wednesday
Yeah, it's
before.
gotta be, and it's probably gotta be around the 21st, because Gazette requires for two
time,
in the
right,
paper.
so, right,
Let's say
but
the 20.
you can put the ad in the paper,
There.
right, on call on the 21st, better get all the paperwork
Paperwork in by the
into us by the 26th. So what you can do, to avoid that potential problem with the issue of, timing, is request the commission, to allow you to the 25th for submittal of your, notice of intent, instead of the 19th. That'll give you the time that you need.
Okay. Again, we want to satisfy everybody in this room here. I've got people in and out of our office. I'm just a little bit concerned about the time frame. That's all. To the extent we can get, to the extent we can say, look, let's try to hit those dates, but if we run into a problem with it, we.
Now, you don't want to run into a problem, because you don't want to miss the fall growing season, okay? And that's exactly what, for lack of a better way to put it, you've got to hold your feet to the fire, get it done. Otherwise, you're going to be here January, and, well, gee, can we do it in spring? It's happened so too many times. And then while you're at it, you ought to vote a fine for the violation. And if they comply with your order, just like you did on the other one, then you can vote to lifted fine. But you've gotta have that in there also as an incentive. And then if they don't do it, then they have to pay the fine.
What would your suggestion be for a fine? Where are we at on that?
Well, how much of an area are we talking?
14,
14,000 square feet, I think that's what they said.
Yeah, we'll have to check exactly.
And I don't have these numbers.
That's approximately, but they do have the number of trees, 122 trees, that's a very extensive number.
Yeah.
That's the most I've ever seen in any kind of situation.
Our Boston office has formulas per square foot, if you will, of damage, and I don't have those numbers. And whether it's a square footage, because there's various species that are incorporated, so they come up with an average dollar value, and, or a per caliper inch cost. Let's just say that if it's a 7-inch tree and it's $100 a caliper inch, $700 for that tree. I'm just throwing that number out there, that's not an exact. So we can, run those numbers, we can sit down with these folks, figure out the game plan. I know they're pressed for the timing for filing and so forth. We also have stuff that we probably need to do in phases, whether it was between planting seasons and closing those drainage easements probably immediately, as soon as we can, get everything in order with that, especially prior to.
I
snow
actually
season
see the
with-
drainage issue as something that could take more time because there's a lot of design factors that go into all of a sudden containing the water, correct?
Well, that, on their end, that'd be huge as far as in-ground, like, systems and drainage and stuff, and then tying into your system into the town, and that's big. I don't know where this water's gonna go. Closing those berms, if the water gets 6 inches high before it jumps the berm, we don't know. But we're gonna get into more and more problems as time goes on. Snow season, the salts that are sprayed behind the buildings for travel going into the system, so that's stuff that we got a lot of time stuff going on, and figuring it all out, unfortunately, with this filing is the biggest issue.
To the best of my knowledge on those, by the way, those were, when we bought the center, those were in place, they were just berm that led right into the area of the state land, and we put the crushed stone in there just to slow down the infiltration.
So those are the kind of things you need to work out with MassDOT.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as your drainage, and you can, that's why I said you gotta sit down with them. And then as far as your caliper estimates, that's something that, again, you guys gotta work out. But for the purposes of this commission, I think a $5,000 fine, it's in order. It could be actually more if you start calculating the number of days. There were $300 a day, that'll be in tens of thousands. But I think we're fining them $5,000 with the understanding that if indeed they comply, that is in addition to whatever the filing fee for the notices of intent, would be. The $5,000 is an administrative fine that says you knowingly, especially when you are told to stop work, regardless of the reason for finishing the berm, whether it was allowed or not. So you vote a $5,000 fine, coupled with the understanding that that fine will be lifted if they comply with every aspect of the order. If not, then you need to send a constable and then collect that fine.
All right. Do we have a motion on the fine aspect?
Yes, I'm gonna make a motion for $6,300 for the fine, and maybe I'm wrong on this, Dazzle, just hear me out. At $100 per tree, per inch, there's 630 inches of tree damage. So I think 6,300 would be a fair number to impose the fine.
That's $10 per inch, isn't it? Not $100 per inch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good call, Bill.
Okay. I would entertain a second.
Second,
Oh,
yeah.
excuse me, just as a reminder, just be easy math, I think the 100, so just, whatever you.
No, our fine is usually $100 a day anyway. So I think what Beast
Per tree cut down.
What Mr. McRae was getting at is to actually have a
number.
basis for coming up with a number, rather than an arbitrary number of 5,000.
Okay.
Sometimes I come up with a good one. I make a motion then for 6,300 for the fine.
And we have a second from,
Second.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So,
Yeah, with the understanding, I think.
that fine will be
Remove.
removed when everything is complied with.
But it wasn't put it that way, though.
Well, I would we'll
Make a motion to make a modification to that fine.
I just want to make sure.
No, that's fine.
So that we will add to that motion that upon.
No, you can just make another
Make another-
motion
okay, all right,
that
so-
the fine be
The
withdrawn.
fine will be waived. I make a motion that the fine will be waived upon successful completion of the project
Restoration
as, restoration project as required, or as stated.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
on the enforcement order, before we get too far into order filings and notice of intents, I suggest that we come up with a Band-Aid, let's call it, to prevent water from going down these culverts into the river, whether it be sandbags, hay bales, something, until we actually get a finalized plan to get these removed and replaced. Because as of right now, those are open waterways right into the stream, which goes to the Taunton River. I'm not saying we're about to have snow and tons of salt back there, but at least put something there, to act as the original curb that was there at one time to prevent anything from going down there.
Well, they have a berm right now.
Well, they have 7 open waterways.
They're opening, the berm leaves and the water can drain right
They
through.
opened the berm, so basically you want to put away at least the erosion control barrier.
Just something temporarily, it's just a Band-Aid to get us to the point where we figure out what is gonna happen with these.
There are varying widths, so I would say that we would have to make a U-shaped row of hay bales.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, I know for a fact that when we bought that property, those were asphalt swales. We have a plan in the office now with me now, construction, when Kmart, I believe, was built, showing the asphalt swales directly into the edge of the swale, and it shows them in an Alta survey of 1985, showing the same swales in the same area, and it shows them an Alta survey on 2000 and I believe it was 11 or 11 that we bought the property. So those swales have been there since 1975, prior to the Wetlands Protection Act. They have been there forever. They were inundated, completely inundated with trash, shopping carriages, everything was in there. There was tires, everything. We pulled those out by hand. Pulling them out by hand, the asphalt was just completely crumbled. We laid down filter fabric and put 6-inch minus riprap, which is the best case scenario for stormwater. That's your BMPs, is right there.
I understand.
Is that what you have on the outfalls?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so then that addresses that issue.
So that would be your best BMP right there, would be, but they have in fact been there since 1975.
Well, no, I understand they've been there,
Yeah.
and before the rules, before stormwater management came out. But when you come back and readdress something that was, we'll say, grandfathered in way back when, and then you touch it today, now you have to apply by the rules that are in place today in stormwater management. In the last 5-10 years, Mr. Chairman has literally jumped through the roof. So if you had not touched that, or done anything cleaned up, yes, what was left from 1975, before my time, would have been great. But because work has been done on those areas, it has to be subject to the laws of today.
But didn't you just say that?
What Bill just showed me right now, at least will take care of the erosion issues.
What about to prevent anything else from going into the system? I know we don't have to deal with salt or sand or calcium from snow, because it's too early for snow season. But I know somebody was talking about oil in parking lots and stuff like that, hydraulic fluids behind warehouses. I'm just concerned of stuff like that, now that this is a known issue.
Right.
I know the riprap will stop a lot of it, but, again, and I'm looking for assistance
Should
from,
be all part of this notice. It can't be-
Well, what is, right,
it's gonna
and
be
the,
dealt with.
how,
Right.
all that would be cleaned up,
Why don't we, Mr. McGuire,
Just a point of information, Mr. Chairman.
can you step up to the mic before the guy comes out of the TV room and yells at us?
MassDOT's policy is that we don't allow any drainage tie-ins to our property or our drainage systems. The property owner is expected to keep his water on his property, basically. If you remember when the Stop and Shop went in down the street, they did a huge job. Their entire front parking lot is basically stormwater infiltration. Big slotted steel pipes surrounded by stone, and then they paved over it for their parking area. Unless there's absolutely no other place that water can go, we might consider it, but outside of that, we don't take anybody's water. And not only that, but we have now the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 in effect, and that has requirements for no
untreated.
untreated stormwater discharges. So again, that'll be something that we'll be writing to RK Centers about, and we would ask that that be included in the notice of intent. You may want to have like a two-phase notice of intent with the vegetation and tree restoration first, but it should be followed up with
and that's the point that I was trying to get at about the discharge. I want to make sure that,
The riprap may be there, it may slow down the water for erosion, but it's not dealing with the issue of putting contaminants
Right.
into the discharge area. And that's why I think, something as simple as a,
sandbags,
something,
hay bales.
whatever be,
Even hay bales would
in
let
front
the
of
water
there
go through.
to keep, not the water necessarily, but to help soak up the contaminants that could.
You could put in core logs, a core log type thing, silt sock as they call it. It's round.
I
It'd
didn't
fit
wanna
right in front of the
specify what-
berm, basically. It'd fit right in front of the berm.
Enforcement order.
As a temporary solution
As a bit, yeah.
right now.
That's,
And then
I
they'll
do
have to
agree,
come back
Kevin.
with some kind of design to eliminate those waterways
As a permanent
entirely.
fix. If this was the way it was planned back when the Kmart Plaza was open prior to all these laws being in place, then it would have fallen under the radar, but since work has been done, now we have to look at it as
now it
today.
opens up a new
It
can of
opens
worms.
up- It opens up a whole new avenue of what laws are in place today, which, which stormwater management
Yeah.
and the discharge pollutants is just,
I think that's well-founded. However, just a point of information. I don't think the commission should really get involved with how to address that problem. You ordered a notice of intent be filed, and you ordered them to cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and the resource area. So if we go out there and there's a problem, they're more liable. I don't think, at this point in time, you've told them to stop what they're doing that is affecting the buffer zone and the resource, and order them to do a notice of intent. I think that's where you gotta leave it at that right now.
And let them address that
Okay, so,
in the
oh,
NOI.
we'll talk about that after the meeting.
Yes.
Real quick, what was the date for the file?
19th,
The 14 days?
21 days after the enforcement order went out, I think it was the 19th.
19. So
19th, August 19th.
that's why we suggested that
21
they right
days.
now request that time be extended to the 25th.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, it's the 20, Monday would be the 26th.
26th, the
Yeah, maybe
26th.
21st.
File at that time to extend to 26.
August 26th.
Yep.
For the filing.
But get in touch with the Gazette too ahead of time, because I don't know what their filing dates are, and it has to be in so many days before the date.
Because the actual hearing will be
There's
on
a
September
holiday in there,
4th.
and that may mess everything up.
Also, we'll certainly willing to sit down with RK and members of the Concom, but I think RK has to do the work either themselves in-house or hire a consultant to do this, because Commonwealth of Mass is not going to do it.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so do we have Mr. Chairman, do you have any request from RK for extension on filing of the notice of intent? Because otherwise, if they don't file a written request for
So we need to
extension.
make a motion to,
No, they have to request.
All right.
You can't just automatically do that. They need to tell you that they can't do it, and they need to,
okay.
otherwise, come the 19th, you gotta take further action, file.
I would like to make the date. I'm just expressing concern because I think we've got some homework to do here, and we certainly have to have some dialogue with these folks over here. So I don't want to say we can't make it if we can, and I want to tell everybody we'll do everything we can to make the date. To the extent we have an issue with it, I guess we can bring that to your attention.
Well,
September 18th is the next meeting after that.
in order to get a restoration going,
Get it started.
if we don't have something on the 4th, I don't see us agreeing on anything on the 4th.
Right.
I mean, I don't see that a perfect plan to come in for all the issues is gonna be here on the 4th.
Well,
I don't see it as a possibility.
well, if they can, then they will have to request it,
Continuance.
rather
No,
than
but
giving
what
them
I think they need to be in here on the 4th with something, a notice of intent.
No, the notice of intent has to be filed before the 4th, for you to hold a hearing.
Right.
Right,
But I'm talking meetings.
yes.
For us to sit here as a commission and review something on the 4th and get input from the state and whatever else, I don't think that there will be anything that anyone could do that would sit in front of us on the 4th that wouldn't need some sort of revisions. Review.
Right, well, then at that time.
So then
once you
we'd be
hear
at
it,
the 18th,
Well,
would be
then-
our next meeting.
Then you will be continue hearing from the 4th.
Right.
To the 18th.
But what I'm saying, Azu, is, so
They need
if
to do it.
in a perfect world, we could vote on something on the 18th, they would have time to get plants in the ground
Mhm.
this growing season. End of September, early
Right. They
October,
got first by, no later than the first week of October.
you know? So that would give them 2 weeks to deal with, what are we gonna plant, where are we gonna plant it, blah, blah, blah. And then you get it in the ground 3 weeks later. I think that's doable, you know? So I think that they need to request the 25th as
For
an
filing.
extension
Right.
to file a notice of intent. 26th, the boss said.
It's a Monday.
Okay. And then,
I just gotta stop here a second. We're beating a dead horse here. It's not our responsibility to
Exactly.
make them file a notice of intent.
Just,
It's up to
You
them.
order them to come,
It's
yeah,
up to them to
Right.
comply to our enforcement order we
Right.
just put on.
right,
They know the dates and times. It's up to
Exactly.
them
to
to
comply with those dates.
comply with those dates. If they
Try
show,
to sit here and
choose
work it
not
out for them,
to
it's not, a-
no, I just,
do
want-
it, that's their prerogative.
right.
I'm looking at an extended time frame. If they don't get it in on time, then I think it's.
That's
gonna
why
be
you
a
have the
bigger issue.
$5,000, the $6,300 fine.
Yep.
Trying to sit here and figure out how it's gonna work for them, it's not your problem.
Right.
Because then you become part of trying to comply with the enforcement order.
So if we can't, if for some reason, between whatever it may be, if we can't get it in by the 25th or 26th, I would come personally and explain every reason why. Maybe there might be an outside consultant that needs to be hired or something like that, then you would do it. That's kind of why I was kind of favoring towards the enforcement order, because then you wouldn't have the 2-week, the 2-week appeal process. You can't work in that first 2 weeks, so now you lost another 2 weeks of the planning season. So that's why I kind of hope that we could get it quick, hopefully get it done by the next meeting, which I'm thinking we can, but that's why I was kind of leaning towards the enforcement order, which you still have that ability to do later on if you wanted to ratify it. But that was, and if we couldn't get it for some reason, we would be in constant contact with either Gail or Chairman Smith or through email, through all the members. And it wouldn't be a BS reason, it would be a solid reason. That's,
I just don't see any reason why there couldn't be a notice of intent filed by that point. I agree.
Like Dave said,
Yeah.
we did that horse.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So-
We're going to do whatever we can to make that happen, okay? And I'm not trying to make excuses ahead of time. You've got to complete some research, we have to reach a consensus with these folks as well, and I want to make sure that it's a coordinated, concerted effort here, so.
They're
I
pretty
agree. We don't-
easy to get in
We don't
touch
need to discuss this
with.
any further.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
thank you very much for your time.
So is the date required for the notice of intent filing August 19th?
Well, that's part of it, yeah.
It still is then, yeah. They didn't request anything different.
It's the preferred one to keep this moving.
So as of now, it has to be.
As of now, it's 19th. They didn't
You
request,
didn't- you guys
they didn't
requested.
request to, the deadline, that's right now, that's, I mean, I've said that for like 10 times.
Yep.
That's why I said you're beating a dead horse.
It's just a week.
They have the 19th to file all this stuff, okay? And I've said that several times. They ought to at least right now request up to the 26th for filing. They don't have the 26th for filing right now.
They have the
Can we
19th.
request it right now?
Right now, that's what he's trying to tell you.
Grab a piece of paper from him and just scribble a request. So we have a document from you.
You're gonna set,
Okay, I appreciate the courtesy of that. May we have an extension until the 26th to do the filing?
Okay.
I make a,
25th is a Sunday.
yeah, 26th is the Monday. August 26th is Monday.
August 26th. So you're requesting an extension of the time to file a notice of intent
just right
Requesting, right?
just right-
to 8/26. Do we have a motion
I
on
make a
that?
motion that we accept the request of our case to, of an August 26th
Deadline.
deadline.
Second.
All in favor of an August 26th deadline?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. You have an August 26th deadline.
Because one was, did you get two of them? That's the extra one, and I couldn't find it.
Okay. So I think we're all set, except we need this paper.
Just as a notice that as of July 1st, all of the new regulations and the bylaw and the fees are online, filings, okay?
So everything's online.
Notice of intent, everything is online on the website.
As I said, both the state mandated fees and
Okay.
local filing fees.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
All righty, thank
thank
you.
you.
Should, just out of clarification, but should we just sign that, we accepted this on such and such a date?
You just already voted?
Yeah.
Yeah, we voted.
It'll be in the
I
minute.
mean, just to sign the paper saying that we did accept it?
No, you voted it.
Okay.
Yeah, you voted it, it's in the minutes. You made a they made a request, you made a motion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On Friday, there's a line.
See you, Tom.
Going around in circles with them.
Continued request of certificate of compliance, DP file number 269-0613, Andrew Crenshaw, 103 Crimson Street.
Mr. Chairman, this afternoon, we've been waiting for a letter from SciTech with a stamped engineer's certified stamp on it. We did receive it in today's mail. That's what we've been waiting for, to issue the certificate of compliance. So we're all set to
All
go.
the paperwork's taken care
The
of.
paperwork has been taken
Everything's
care of.
okay, I'll make a motion. Is that what you're looking for, Bill?
Yep.
A motion?
That was the one with the
This was 103
The
Crimson.
recharge.
recharge.
Right.
At the end of the asphalt, it was done by one person, and then the.
Somebody-
So what was the final outcome on that?
Well, the engineer has changed his certification, which is what we were saying. He says, well, if you guys accept the contractor's opinion that he installed it and showed photograph, we said, no. You are the one certifying that work.
Certifying it.
And he did.
So he's done that,
He
yeah.
has done it.
So,
Okay.
He did it, but didn't stamp it, and we told him.
That was
Okay,
2 weeks
that was-
ago.
yeah,
All right.
So
So,
that was just
all the
the
paperwork is in.
and I'm making the
engineering
motion
stamp.
to, I'm making the
Yep.
motion that we
And
issue
they can sign it.
the
You're good to
COC
go.
4,
After the vote.
Department
After you vote.
269-0613, Andrew Crenshaw's 103 Crimson Street. Okay,
All right, we have a second, a third, and a fourth from 3 people. All in favor?
I'm going to
Aye.
have a fifth.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Can I sign it now? Can I
Yes,
sign it?
sir. You voted.
Prospect Hill Street.
Continued request for a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 269-0869, City of Taunton, Prospect Hill Street culvert. Anyone here from the City of Taunton? Seeing none.
Zoo has some remarks you'd like to make, please.
We asked for an as-built. They said they didn't have a budget for the as-built. And then, they actually sent over the commission, they sent the commission a proposal to pay for the as-built. And the commission.
So we took a vote when Dave wasn't here, and he's gonna pay out of his pocket.
Well,
The commission voted
because I haven't,
to deny the certificate, so you denied it.
Right, you did.
And then what they did was they turned around and sent us exactly the same plan that was not an as-built, was a record plan that showed the proposed work. And then they took out the title, record plan, they put as-built on it.
okay. To tie into that, the city of Taunton shouldn't be paying for it. That culvert was installed because of a private project going up on Prospect Hill Street on the Taunton side. Part of the mitigation of the project was that that company replaced the culvert. And it's the same company that's doing the work on the donut shop guy on Ann Street.
On Hall?
On Hall Street, rather, I'm sorry, Hall.
Yeah.
It's the same company. So the city of Taunton shouldn't be paying for it. It
Well, that's
should be,
between them and the city
that's
of Taunton.
between, yeah. So I'm not
Yeah, that's-
accepting that
that's
they're
not
not
us.
doing it.
Okay,
Well,
so,
but that's not us, I mean.
No, but that's the backstory.
Okay,
so in other words.
so they sent us a plan that says as-built.
Right.
So we rejected.
And the plan shows exactly what was proposed before. Paul, have you ever seen a project in your however number of years you've been practicing,
Where everything
Okay.
came out perfect.
when everything is exactly the way you drew it on the plan?
Only my job.
Okay.
So never.
Okay, let's just show the proposed contours on an as-built. So, I'd say you were.
I make a motion to deny it again.
Yeah.
Second.
All
I
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's denied. No more informal business. Formal, continued notice of intent for DEP file number 269-0890, 2 Ts. Realty Trust, 152 Forge River Parkway, map 14, parcel 2420, received request to continue until September 4th, 2013.
What's going on with this?
It's still in
It's still
planning.
in planning.
Continued notice of
That's
intent.
the issue with the road.
Do we need to vote to?
Yeah, to continue the,
Motion that we
to
continue.
continue hearing for 2T.
Motion that you want me to read the whole?
No, that's fine. All in favor of continuing the hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Continue notice of intent, DEP file number 269-0899. Stephen Joyce, Christina's Path, map 9, parcel 7-6.
That's you, Paul.
You're up.
Did anyone have a chance?
We have to read it in first, right?
No, it's already ready.
No, we already
We read it
opened
in.
already.
Oh,
That's
I'm
just a
sorry.
We
continued
read it
hearing.
in last.
You said you're up, I thought that's what you meant, you had to read
Oh,
it.
you're talking this Paul.
Oh, that Paul, too many
Get
Pauls.
two Pauls here, see?
Oh,
We need a Paul.
Are these new plans or?
You've got the old one, gave you an old one, compare it, but then he just gave you a new one.
This is an old one, Dave has the new one.
And this is the site inspection that, Paul.
well, we have this already, Paul. Is there another revised date? Because the revised date here says July 9th.
Yeah.
And the one that we have is July 9th.
Same plan.
You got some more?
We missed the date. It's been revised since that time. I'll have to do that. I have to endorse that and such.
Yeah, because,
It was done
okay,
today, actually.
okay, yeah, then,
It was done about an hour ago.
okay. So then you want to initial the ones that you just did give us, so that we can have the different distinction. This is the one that you just gave us. No, this is it. This is the one that you just gave us.
That's the same. This is the
No, the
same
old
one.
one is the one folded.
Let me borrow you.
This one here.
We'll do them all.
Yeah.
Revise. What's today? 7th. I'll do them all. Which one?
So this
I
is,
mean, as long as we have the one of record.
One? Oh, yeah.
No, do
Do them all?
Yeah,
do them all? Oh, all right.
yeah. Put your initials next to that revised,
Okay.
Paul,
Yeah, okay.
so we know who to blame.
All right. Which one I just did?
That one over
Good
there.
initial that. Sign, initial, and $40.
You want one?
I thought it was $20 per plant.
Oh, is it 20 per plan?
Fine.
Fine. That's another 40.
What is the,
What's the change?
Uh,
Why don't you state your name for the
Well,
record?
yeah, Paul Patnode, representing the owner. Basically, just to go back a bit, at the last hearing, there was some concern by the abutters here this evening regarding some water issues that he has on his property. The commission at that time felt that a way to resolve that would be to incorporate an infiltration system to the front of the house, have the downspouts go in sort of like a recharge area. And so with that, if you look in the lower left-hand corner, those are the additions, if you will, to the details of the infiltration system. And if you look at the plan itself, you can see the box up at the top there, that's this location. Another thing to sort of keep in mind, a little history, is that this project has been approved, the development of this whole project, the roadway, et cetera, and the grading, has been approved by the commission a number of years ago. Through that process, you have to satisfy all the stormwater requirements, you have to, including infiltration kinds of issues, and obviously in runoff to abutting properties. That was done. Basically, there's an on-site drainage system that goes to a retention area. And just for example, about half of the water on that property was going in a northerly direction previously. Now I would say that of that half, probably 20% of it goes in that direction now. So there's been a substantial reduction in overland flow by the virtue of the fact of this subdivision, because it goes now in a southerly direction. So I would say that since that, prior to this subdivision, the water was more apt to go in his direction than it is now.
Where's the retention basin you're talking about?
I brought the original plans here, if you can sort of get a good sense
Well,
of
just
it.
locus.
Well, it's right here.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah, so it's, from what I remember, it's on the south side of the property, right about,
South side of the cul-de-sac.
Just before the cul-de-sac.
just before it.
On the left, yeah.
Back on July 24th, Paul and I did a site visit, and I wrote up a site inspection report log and submitted it to Gail, so she has that.
Yeah.
And the reason for that visit was for the wetlands concerned by the abutter. Nicholas Smith was present tonight. We did go out 1 o'clock in the afternoon or so. We weren't able to get to the rear of the lot from the Christina's Path area. It's too much overgrowth there. It just was impassable. So we went around to the back of the property. With the owner's permission, we went to the rear of his property to look at the rear of this proposed lot. We did find a significant amount of water, standing water in the back of his property, leading to a stream that runs parallel to the property that you have here. We were able to identify the wetland from wetland flag A1 through A10 before we ran out of navigable space, as it were.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
It is pretty tough, it's pretty overgrown. But the way the land slopes, it's going to drain from the back of that property right into the pond, or the stream, and subsequently the standing water in the back of this gentleman's property. So there's quite a bit of water there. And I'm not sure that the grading that you've represented here is going to mitigate that by forcing it to the retention basin. It's just going to run right off into that stream and subsequently that wet area. So I'm not sure what else we can do about that outside of trying to mitigate the runoff through either changing the contour of the land so that it flows toward the retention basin. He's done a good job in mitigating the runoff from the house into the basin, but I'm concerned as a homeowner as well, that based on the grading, it looks
I
like.
can give you a little more history to that.
Okay.
That stream back there, that was dug, that was man-dug. At some point in time, you can tell just by the channel, the house. That was pretty much basically to drain the water from that property over there. Because, and it was done years ago. So there was always an issue there, or they would never have dug that ditch. But granted, this property slopes in that direction. It did before.
Yep.
Less now than before.
Okay.
Because the roadway is picking up all that drainage that
Some of
was
that.
going that direction. So there's much less going there now.
And there was before.
So, I mean, it's better. It's making it better, not worse.
What is the, I know it's hard to see into the future, but projected rainwater coming down that driveway from the cul-de-sac?
It's probably 20% less than it did before.
Because just from my personal experience, I collect more rainwater down my driveway from my street that brings all my mulch and gravel to the base of my driveway. So I'm just wondering, and I actually have a lip at the top of my driveway where it meets the street, so I'm just wondering what kind of...
It's going to go there no matter what you do. It's going there. You can't change it.
Kevin, are you talking about the runoff from the road itself?
Right, once the driveway, the asphalt driveway's put in.
Yeah, Paul, that's, I think I echo what Kevin is saying. If you look over here, the way the contours are, if it's built
Right, I'm on the hill.
it's plan, Paul.
Yeah.
The water from the cul-de-sac is gonna
Other
have an out to the driveway.
So it's just,
So I suggest that,
Is there curbing?
Yeah, yes.
no, but you're not gonna drive over the curb once you.
There's a
open up-
curb cut there for the driveway.
Yeah, for the driveway, there's a curb
All
cut
the
there.
water from the roadway is contained within the cul-de-sac.
Right, but if you look over there, Paul, right, you got a 61 contour here, coming to here, and the proposed contour is 59, then 58,
But
but
that-
actually it's dropping all the way
Yeah,
toward the
but
back.
those numbers are at the property line. The gutter line is beyond that.
Well, you're showing
No,
60,
but if you
you're
see the
showing
60
existing 61 through the sidewalk,
All the way to
across the
55.
head of the driveway.
And then they
and then
propose
back.
60, that will tie into the existing 60, suggesting that 60 will be kept.
Yeah,
So then what should be done is put like a little of a crown
well, we can raise the elevation.
on the side, to show that
Nothing's coming off the street.
yeah, because otherwise, the way it's built like this, some water's gonna come from the street and down that driveway.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
because I do commend the efforts, because obviously if that house was not there, the natural contour of the land will drain down anyways. So if the house needs to go there, we have to find a way to
keep the water.
take the water that is created now from altering the land, because now with the asphalt driveway, you're gonna take all that soil out of there, so it's gonna not absorb.
Well, what I
any
think
water.
we're all suggesting that can be done is as you drive off the cul-de-sac, the driveway will be elevated, and then it'll go down.
You're right.
As like a natural barrier. Like I said, I commend all the efforts to get all the rainwater towards the front, everything, So now I'm looking at, okay, what's left? Driveway. And I know that my driveway turns into the Raging Rapids on a good downpour, and all the water from Hall Street pours down my driveway because I'm pitched downhill. And even the small lip that I have isn't enough to stop all the
I
rainwater
mean,
coming in.
the intent was to do that anyway, but it's not really reflected here in the plan.
Yeah.
These are 1-foot contours, so, you know, we were talking.
If you throw one see where you proposed 60?
Yeah.
Right up against the driveway?
Yeah,
It's
you know,
Right,
a
so,
61 can go across.
so if you go right at the edge of the sidewalk and put like a circular, proposed contour
Right.
of 61.5,
Right,
then it will push, it will,
Force the water
Yeah.
away.
yeah,
Now, on that side of the cul-de-sac, are there any drains on the cul-de-sac?
yes, there are,
Any
Yeah.
catch basins
yes.
that go into the discharge area?
We're trying to think where they are. I think they're at the beginning of the cul-de-sac.
Because I was saying, just from experience,
Wait a minute.
I would love if there was a drain uphill from my driveway to take all the rainwater.
I'll show you where they are.
It has to be, because like I said, there is a detention pond here, so it all has to.
But I didn't see any,
I
don't know the exact locations.
One thing,
He'll have it there.
Paul, is, I'm worried about ADA on that sidewalk.
yeah, because
You might have to come back
on the north side of the
behind the
sidewalk.
sidewalk,
Yeah.
because you're ADA
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Well, that gets, you can't show that in a contour. I mean,
Yeah.
it's too small. but-
so where are the catch basins?
Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah. So here and here.
Way out.
So there is none actually on the
No,
cul-de-sac
see what-
at all.
No, yes,
I didn't see it.
Right here.
So there's one right there, which would be this one here.
It's right next to the hut, and it's not shown on the plan, right here.
I don't remember seeing that, okay. I wasn't looking specifically
Yeah.
for it, but I don't remember. We did find this water.
Because
No.
it would have to be in a sense, because see, this is the
wide.
grade. You know what I mean, that's the low point, basically.
Yeah, we saw this one.
The concern I have is if they don't make it here,
Saw that.
and they start coming
And
around,
what did you say the?
first thing that's gonna hit is this driveway opening.
Yeah.
You know, before it gets to here. This is great, because it's there, if there were no other driveways, if it was all curved.
You're saying it's over here, and we wouldn't have looked over there anyway.
Yeah.
We were concerned with this right
Don't even make
here.
it to that.
I know they're there, I can't tell you exactly
So it must be in front of this
You know what I'm
homeowner's right here.
Yeah.
Close to.
I'm just trying to look at it from all
Which makes
sides.
sense, right?
So everybody
Just
feels
the water flows
comfortable.
down to catch-
We can,
It's hard to
we
show
can
that
mitigate.
with the contours.
Yeah.
You know what I can do? I can put a profile, a driveway profile.
Yeah.
That might be better, easier to see.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna, you realize we're gonna have to see some in that road layout, I'm gonna call it,
Half the property now.
between the sidewalk and somewhere in here, I would say you're gonna have to have an elevation higher.
I can show you a profile and.
Is there a-
Show you the curve, show you the slope.
Is there a curb cut
sidewalk,
already in?
show that. You know what I mean?
There is a curb cut.
Yeah, just get it up so that at least
And does it go right down?
somewhere it's equal with the curbing in elevation, on top of
Right here.
curb.
It would just,
Then I feel that
so it's-
the road stays in road,
Yeah.
house goes, well, some of the houses are going forward, but
I deal with that from personal experience.
The graded about the front, so from the 63 contours, actually going out over that way, towards the street. So,
I mean, the other good thing I see on this is the contours are draining towards the
Well, the
the opposite, the-
Well,
it's draining towards the
Yeah.
downside of the stream.
But the stream ends up.
Then it's got the roof.
Yeah.
Well, the stream goes away from him, of course, you
And then
know.
it's got the roof drained.
Then why is the
Yeah.
water puddling?
The water puddles there and it goes away from his house.
I think that's probably just a low
Yeah,
area, and once that fills up,
That's what it is.
it fills up to a certain point and then carries on
And
down.
Yeah.
discharges itself.
And that stream isn't maintained, so it gets debris in it
Exactly,
and
and I
stuff
think
like
that's
that.
the biggest problem. is
Yeah.
there's Probably a lot of blockage in there.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's
I didn't
probably
realize
something
that
you might
was
wanna
man-made.
contact mosquito control. They
Yeah.
might go in
yeah.
and clean up some of theirs as their mosquito mitigation.
There were a lot of mosquitoes.
If there's blockage in, because the back of your lot drains off to a small stream. If that stream over time has gotten silt, sediment from over the years, could be causing a backup into your back lot, which gets to be a gray area in cleaning unless you take the right approach, which is going through the mosquito control, which they have jurisdiction to prevent mosquito buildup, to make sure that there's no standing water. So if there is a blockage somewhere in that stream that's causing the water to back up and become standing water in your lot, they have the jurisdiction to go in and clear anything that is in the way that will help the water.
Get that brook
So they may
flowing.
be able to drain that,
You know,
whatever.
Right.
Get your brook flowing there. It was standing pretty still when we were there.
Okay.
So that might be another avenue.
Well, I
The-
have a couple questions when the time is right, but I'm still listening.
Yeah, I know that from what we're seeing here, even if this house was not going in, you still have the natural contour of the land that's gonna flow in that direction anyways. So, what we're seeing so far with the drainage and stuff, and the mitigation towards the front of the house looks great. The only thing we probably need to see is that smaller diagram on the driveway to prevent the driveway turning into collecting all the water from the cul-de-sac and going back down and continuing to fill that standing water in the back. It's not gonna stop at all, but at least we're heading in the right direction to possibly prevent more water from going in there, and then also getting with mosquito control to find out if there is any blockage in that little stream that's keeping the water there instead of letting it flow out. So it's definitely going in the right directions, and trying to, I commend the landowner and, the engineers to try to work with everybody around to try to keep it down to a minimum, so it's looking good. We just need a little more driveway detail right there.
Okay, my questions are, based on the site visit, do you feel that the plans are reflective of the conditions now regarding the slope and elevations?
Yeah, that's what we observed, yeah.
So-
Yeah,
You think they're pretty close to as the plans?
Yep.
Okay, because I only had limited access to that, and I was confused maybe, but if
Yeah,
you
we
agree that
walked-
that's pretty close, I'm confident with
Yeah,
that.
we walked
does
all
go
the
down.
back, well, through your property, and went across the bridge there, and walked
Yeah.
all around in through there, and observed the slope of the land coming, and
We walked from wetlands flag A1 through all the way to A10.
Okay.
And the stream pretty much flowed that way. It's hard for us to tell at this time, you're saying that the stream feeds away from that standing water, not into that.
and if no one has maintained that for many years,
It
it's
may
probably,
just be-
well, we saw, there were trees, we saw, you can see trees have just fallen right into the stream itself.
Okay, so,
So-
but
I would think that, and I guess we,
He
mosquito
can't
control.
clean it because
No.
it's wetlands, but mosquito control can.
If they came in and
So call mosquito
dredged it, I
control.
guess.
I absolutely will do that. I just want to, cover all of my concerns here. There's reference to what happened in the past, what has happened, what has caused, all things that are well beyond my, I have no information on that. And as for how it lands right now in the situation, that comes with nature, I don't have, any qualms with that, of course. My only concern is, that we make sure we're fully understanding, we'll make sure that all efforts are being made to prevent something from happening that we cannot later undo.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
that's my
What
concern.
we're seeing in the plans from the developer here will mitigate as much as we can
Okay.
that situation. So your concern is well-founded, and we're going to make adjustments to the plan
Okay.
through order of conditions to make sure that we minimize the impact.
Now, if I understand correctly, based on the meeting from last month, was there an additional change regarding some kind of drainage system in the property? I want to say it.
Basically, if I can sum it up, right now you have 100% of the water coming off the street, draining down that lot. He's going to take half of that water and push it back into the street and into their drainage system
How will that happen?
through piping and grading.
Okay.
The house is gonna be elevated above the street, so the
Okay.
front yard's gonna slope back down.
Okay.
So instead of having all the water coming off that property and heading down towards that stream,
Yeah.
rough numbers, don't quote me,
Yeah.
but he's taken half of that water now, pushed it towards the front of his.
Redirected.
Today about
Yeah.
doing something for the driveway.
So he's actually made an improvement to that
Okay.
particular lot.
And the way they have it all set up is the water that is actually collected from the house itself through the roof and the gutters. In a lot of houses, it just comes down the downspout and just off into
Where
the
it
lawn.
goes, yeah.
The way it's set up here, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually gonna be sent back out across, through the front yard, back out across the street to the retention pond.
Actually, it's gonna infiltrate.
No, yeah, it recharges right there.
Right, so instead of going back down the hill, it'll go right there in the front yard.
Okay.
So it's to prevent more water from going
out
downhill.
back.
Okay, so the suggestions, if I understand them correctly, made tonight are to, in addition to those addendums, also creating a slight incline that would try to prevent some of the water in the street from coming down the driveway?
Correct.
Okay.
That'll be part of the order conditions.
So we're trying to go a little bit further
Okay.
and try to prevent as much water as possible. In a perfect world, not all water is
Yeah.
gonna stop. But if you raise the elevation at the street, obviously higher driveway, a lower street, it's gonna take a significant amount of rain or a very big storm for that to crest over that and go down the driveway. So, we're going in the right direction here, definitely, to make all parties.
Okay, I appreciate
No.
your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank
What's
you.
the scale, Paul?
Straight in the middle, 20? So you're in the middle,
1 to 20.
1 to 20.
Back of sidewalk is, what do you have, a grass strip
Yes.
off the
Yeah.
berm? So somewhere between 10 and 15 feet off the berm,
That's about right.
we want the elevation to match whatever your elevation of your, is it a berm or is it granite curbing?
Slope edging.
No, you don't want to tell them what to match. You don't want that water coming down the driveway.
Period.
I think that's not, you know.
You tell us how you're gonna get the water from going down, not
Try
going
to
down the driveway.
design how he's gonna do that, you
Right,
don't want to say that.
right.
Okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
If, I don't know, well, maybe I should wait, but is it come down to the profile will satisfy?
Yeah.
Is
Well,
it-
designed to keep the water
Right.
on the street.
Is it possible to the commission to consider approving it contingent upon the approval of the driveway profile by Azu? Because this has been a long time, and the guy's like dying.
That's, I mean,
That's
that's
a
a very
minimal,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy with that.
You, yeah, is that okay with you, Azu?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
That's what I was looking at when I was
Did I
trying,
make a
I was trying to
motion?
pick a number where it would have to be so that we knew.
I make a motion that we approve the plan dated
Today.
August 7th, 2013, for Lot 6 on Christina's Path.
You gotta close your hearing first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we want to have the butter, do you have any more?
No, he just says thank you.
No, he said,
You know what, I do have one question, if it's not too late.
Actually, it is. Sorry. We took a vote, so.
to close the hearing, yeah. So now we need a,
All right. Now we need a motion to accept the plan dated 8/7/13 for lot number 6, Christine's Path, pending approval for the driveway reconfiguration by our agent.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second that as long as the wording is,
Anything
What
further?
is
All in favor?
Did I miss something?
no, I just.
No, you did it. All
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything further to add this evening?
I recommend a motion to adjourn.
You can't do that.
Paul, would you like to adjourn?
Yes.
What I do is do it last.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Nobody's
All in
doing it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.